Welcome back to the CardinalSports.com recruiting chat. I'm your host, Dave Lackford, and it's been a month, so it's time to do another one of these. And you guys asked a bunch of questions. I'm going to answer them for you. But before we start, I wanted to get a couple of things out of the way. As far as numbers go, I know that I said it's probably 12 to 15 in the 2022 class, at least from the high school level. And that is predicated upon the ruling that the NCAA is about to issue as to whether or not the senior players are going, basically whether or not 2020 is going to be a year that didn't count, and then whether or not those scholarships will count against the 85 total. That's the way I understand it. I could be wrong. It's all very convoluted when you talk about the NCAA. So that's what it is. They also are waiting to determine whether or not these transfers that come in can play automatically, no matter who they are, or if they're going to have to wait a year, and what implications that will have on the scholarship limit as well. So the 12 to 15 number is contingent upon those NCAA rulings. So if all of a sudden, a ruling comes down after I post this and the number goes up to 25, which is possible depending on how the ruling shakes out, don't be like, Dave, you said 12 to 15, blah, blah, blah. All right, but let's operate under the premise that the number is going to be 12 to 15, okay? If that's the case, and I believe that's how Louisville has been operating so far this cycle, that's kind of the reason why things are slow and they're being more selective and you don't have any commitments yet. In addition to the fact that Louisville usually gets most of their commitments around camp time. If you go back to last year, I think they had like one or two kids commit in March. We're in March. We're halfway through March. It's March 16th. And most of their commitments came like in April, next month, and so on and so forth. And one of the questions that I keep getting in these chats is, who's the next kid to pop, right? And I don't think there's necessarily a dude who is on the precipice of committing right now. So that could be for a number of reasons. It could be because of the number crunch and they want to be more selective and they want to narrow things down. It could be because these guys haven't had a chance to visit, or they haven't done the virtual tours, or just kids could just be taking a wait and see approach. The ban on visits has been extended to May 31st. So everyone's hoping that that's the last time that they extend that ban and things open up for June 1st and kids can come to campus, right? So that's the way that's looking. I know that Rivals is supposed to start holding prospect camps in April. So I'll be able to get out and look at a few of these kids and tell you what I see. So that's a positive note right there. It's a tentative schedule. I haven't gotten the actual green light on it yet, but it's in the works to start camps in April. So hopefully if those go well and everything shakes out properly and whatever happens in society with these vaccines and the spread and stuff like that, hopefully we're able to start taking visits. I'm of the opinion that visits could have happened in a scaled down way a while ago. You just have to be safe. You can't have 10 kids. I mean, but if you could have one visitor a day. I don't see how that would be problematic if everyone followed the, social distancing, masking, washing guidelines. But, that's how it is. So let's get into the questions from the subscribers. And we're going to start out with Card Fan 59. He asked two questions right off the bat. The first one is, what's your take on the Goodwin situation? Is it the Louisville staff just dropping the ball, or is it something else? He's referring to Keontae Goodwin, the 6'9", 315-pound offensive tackle who used to play at Ballard, who transferred to Indiana. I forget the school he's at now. He basically eliminated Louisville from his schools. And he released a statement. There was a long post. Everybody was arguing on that post. I don't want to get into it too much. Basically, the situation, in my opinion, it boiled down to right before Ledford left, Satterfield was, interviewing at South Carolina. I just think there was some uncertainty there with staff turnover, and Dwayne Ledford ended up leaving for the NFL, and they hired a new guy. And during that time, a bunch of other schools really stepped up their recruiting efforts, and I think, he was able to juxtapose the way that these other schools were recruiting him versus the way that Louisville was recruiting him, and he just didn't feel the comfort level there. So that's kind of what it is, to answer your question, frankly. All right, take it how you will. For whatever reason, they didn't recruit him, but I don't want to get into that. Next up, Card Fan 59 asks, seems like 2022s are starting to commit across the country. When is it time to panic if Louisville hasn't landed anyone? I don't think it's time to panic necessarily, and here's why. I want to share my screen with you because I don't think that they're missing on their targets, right? So, these 5-star kids are coming off the board these highly rated kids are coming off the board because they're trying to save their, they were down to Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, whatever, LSU, and they were like, all right, I got to go secure my spot right there. So the top kids fly off the board to the bigger schools every year like that. It just happens. So I don't think that you necessarily need to panic right now. When should you start to panic? I'd say if they start missing out on the kids they're targeting, that's the time that you should start to panic. But I do not think such is the case. And I'll show you why. I'm going to go back to my trusty offer list here from Rivals and show you guys right here. So, the quarterback situation. So I told you guys who they're looking at, right? So they're looking at Connor Harrell, I said, is pretty much the guy that they're really looking at the most. Connor Harrell is probably their number one target. I also said they may not take a quarterback. Let me show you what Connor Harrell said to me. I said, do you feel like they're, I said, hey, Connor, I just want to know how often you talk to Louisville, who you talk to, if you have virtual visits set up or did you already do one? And he said, we talk all the time. I talk to Coach Lynch and Coach McKenzie a lot. Coach McKenzie's gone, so I don't know about that. And I don't know who Coach Lynch is either. And he says, we have done a virtual visit and it was great. I said, do you feel like you're their number one priority at quarterback? He said, yes, sir. And then I was like, what's your commitment timeline like? And he was like, I'm not sure yet. I still have a lot of evaluating to do. So I think he's the guy. And I've spoken to some other sources who've also confirmed to me that, yeah, Connor Harrell's who they're going after. Caleb Johnson is the kid that was about to commit. He's still undecided. And these other quarterbacks out here, I never thought AJ Duffy was a true possibility, and I don't think he's coming here. Sam Horn everyone thought he was going to Tennessee. He went to Missouri. Evers went to Florida, the writing was on the wall there for a while. Drew Allar was never really a serious consideration. So I think Connor Harrell's the guy, and maybe a new dude will emerge later. Who knows? Gavin Wimsat, I've heard from multiple sources now, both on the Kentucky and the Louisville side, that it seems like Rutgers is the front runner and a commitment could be imminent for him. So, everybody wanted him, but it seems like Rutgers came in here and stole him from the Bluegrass. So, I mean, their top running backs, you've got, I think their top running back would be the fast kid from Louisiana, whose name escapes me right now, of course. But Sampson, Dylan Sampson, he's still uncommitted, right? They like this kid named CJ Stokes. He's undecided right here. Victor Venn is undecided. Jalen Glover is another one they like. He's undecided. Damari Alston is undecided. They like Omarion Hampton from Clayton, North Carolina. He's a 4-star. He's a highly rated 4-star. I think he's in the Rivals 150. He's 129. He's undecided, right? Their number one receiver is Dane Cook. Their number one tight end is a kid named Custis. I think his name's Custis. He's from Cincinnati. He's still uncommitted, so I don't think it's time to panic. Josh Caddis is his name. I believe he's from Moeller, which is where Carrington Valentine went, who's up in Kentucky right now. Yeah, Josh Caddis, he's their number one guy at tight end. They're only going to take one. So, no, I wouldn't panic, man. I'm not a panicky type of person. So don't panic. Not time. If you get to if you start seeing all those names start flying off the board and a bunch of new offers going out, I'm going to say panic, but I'd say, what's going on? This isn't good. Shoot 677 asks, what playmakers are we after along the defensive line? Well, everybody knows Salot Brown from Mail, right? He's one of them. Kristen Miller was supposed to commit, and he has pushed his commitment back. And I know Louisville's been pushing pretty hard. So I don't know if Louisville is the reason he pushed it back, but either way, it helps Louisville out, gives them more time. There's Anto Saka, who's a guy that Louisville just offered the other day. There's a kid named Justice Finkley, who I think he's from Alabama. I need to find out more information on him, but I've heard his name mentioned. He's like a Rivals 250 kid. He's up there in the mix. And then you got the juice manpower. I think his name is Bishop something. I don't know what his name is, but that's that. Kenny Fletcher, he ended up going to Rutgers. Popeye Williams is definitely a guy to look forward to, but he's more of a outside linebacker than a D lineman. I'm sorry, this isn't a D lineman thing, but the Destin Wade kid, I think it's Destin, or maybe it's his brother. One of the Wade kids they like at quarterback as well, and he's uncommitted too. So I learned that after I had made the quarterback hot board. So I believe his name is Destin Wade. It might be the other Wade, but I'll have more on that later. So those are the D linemen that Louisville's after right now that could really make a difference. So thanks for that. Shoot 6, and there's going to be a ton more defensive line questions because everybody wants to know about the D line. Probably because they were going after these agile kind of undersized dudes who didn't have a lot of length, but they could fire off the ball. And now it seems they've kind of abandoned that strategy and they're looking for more length. So I think that's one of the reasons why there's so much consternation about the defensive line. EK Chow asks, Cooper seems to be going after the highly rated guys. Do you foresee us actually landing any of those? Cooper is David Cooper, who is assigned to be the recruiting coordinator. He's an off-field recruiting assistant, right? He's not like a position coach. So, look at precedent, right? If you look at precedent, that's the way to go. Look at tradition, look at precedent, look at it the way that the Supreme Court looks at cases, okay? Let's look at the commitment list for Louisville last year, 2021, all right? According to Rivals, and I know some people want to use 24/7 rankings, that's fine. I'm not going to go through all that. I don't even really care about these rankings half the time. But Jaire Williams was the only 4-star that committed to Louisville. He didn't sign because he had grade issues, right? Then in 2020, let's see what high-ranking kids they signed as far as Rivals is concerned. They had one 4-star in Cam Wilson. That's it. That's all they got. The class of 2019 was Satterfield's first year. He had that shortened recruiting period. No 4-stars at all. The highest ranked kid in that class, according to Rivals again, was Zach Edwards. So it's going to be hard to really say. They haven't in the past, and so is an off-field recruiting guy really going to move the needle that much? Maybe. Yeah, so it's hard. It's hard to really think that, that you're going to bring in an off-field coach who's going to just start landing, big-time talent. Now, Coach Stephen Field came out here and he landed some big-time talent. Tutu Atwell, he landed Javion Hawkins, right? And those were the two big players for Louisville over the last 2 years, right? They kept the offense going. So they don't necessarily have to be quote-unquote big-time players. What they need to do is be able to evaluate and find guys that can come in, fit the system, and really do well, right? And Hawkins, that's why I said sometimes I don't even care about these rankings, right? Because Hawkins didn't have a lot of hype, right? He didn't finish a 2-star, but he ran a 4.3640 at the opening, right? How you run a 4.36 on a laser and then be a 2-star? Like, that don't make any sense. That's freaking, if you're a running back, that's going to get you in the 3rd round if you stay healthy and produce. So he should at least have been a damn low 4-star, and he's highly productive down there at Coco. So that's what I'm saying. Like, people get caught up on the rankings all the time. Tutu was a 5.73 star. He's probably going to go higher. I seen a mock draft where Tutu was going higher than Rondale Moore, who's also a 5.73 star. It should have been a 4-star. So it's like, at Louisville, it's hard to go head to head with the big schools for these big dogs, right? Because it's just, there's not that many of them. People will say, oh, look at all the 3-stars that got drafted in the NFL instead of 5-stars and 4-stars. Well, every year there's like 284 stars, not even, there's 280 like mixed 5-stars and 4-stars every single year, right? Well, that would mean like if rivals had like 100% hit rate, all those dudes would get drafted, right? It's impossible to have 100% hit rate. There's way more. Everybody else that goes to college is pretty much a 3-star. You're not a 4 or 5, right? And there's only like 35 5-stars, right? So of course there's going to be more 3-stars. You just got to be able to look at those 3-stars and differentiate who's a guy, who's really not, right? So, and some of the 4-stars are overrated. So it's more or less, can you evaluate talent? Now you want to talk about Derail Sims, the new running back coach. He got a kid to come into ECU as a freshman, and he tore it up. He had a great year. I think he was like top of the nation in rushing, in the top class, without doing the research and just going off the top of my head. So, he evaluated that kid. He comes in, makes an instant impact as a freshman. So Derail might be the guy. And I've talked to a lot of these running backs, and I got the running back board coming out. I was working on it before I started doing this. So look for that. You'll be excited for that. There's a lot of good talent on that. And the guys I talk to, they're telling me, hey, put me down for hot, put me down for warm. So check that out. So, I think be optimistic, be a fan, don't be all doom and gloom, but, have realistic expectations of, what you're dealing with here, and you got to understand something too, read between the lines on this. Like, Louisville still hasn't got their whatever from the basketball side of things. So there's some scrutiny that Louisville has that other schools don't. All right, so take that for what it's worth. The next question is from Real to It. He says, what true impact do you see the new additions to the recruiting staff have? Well, I hit on that with Derail Sims. I hit on, what realistically can an off-field coach like David Cooper do? And I said, it's going to be tough, but he could be like Coach Field, right? I'm pretty sure he was an off-field coach too, but he brought in Hawk and Tutu, right? So, and I think Chandler Jones, Robert Hicks, Chandler Jones is starting. I'm pretty sure Chandler was one of his guys too. So, hopefully he has a Stephen Field impact on the staff, right? That's what you would hope for. I mean, that'd be a win. I mean, would anyone disagree? And then you got Jack Bicknell, I think, the offensive line coach. He was at Auburn. Auburn traditionally sucked at recruiting offensive linemen, and that was ultimately Gus Malzahn's undoing, in my opinion. But he was only there for a year, and I think he was in the NFL before that, so you can't really hold his feet to the fire. From what I've heard, early returns is he seems like a guy that knows how to get after it and knows what he's doing. So I think he could be an improvement. Now, Ledford wasn't really like a great recruiter. Ledford was a great developer. Remember, like he had those two dudes at NC State that were like converted tight ends who were like 2 stars or unranked and ended up getting drafted high first or second round. So Ledford's claim to fame was the way he developed talent, right? But I think that Big Nell stands to be an improvement over Ledford on the recruiting front. It's just, is he that level of a coach, right? So who knows? But I think that if you can get the higher level dudes in, there's less need for development, right? But if he can develop and get the higher level dudes in, you can't beat that, right? Card for life. Oh, and I don't know anything about that safety guy, safety coach, Gasparilla, I think his name is. I don't know. Sorry for butchering his name. It's a new addition to the staff. I haven't been on it like that. I haven't really talked to the back end coaches that much. So I gotta, find a way to schmooze. Well, I haven't talked to anybody like that really because there's no events to go to, right? Hopefully that changes on June 1st. Card for Life 32 says, I think we got our first commitment last March for the 21 class. Any names that could pop first for the cards? I already answered that. I don't see anything imminent right now. All right. Who are our top targets at corner and inside linebacker? Asks Thailand 06. I wrote that down here. All right, so you got at inside linebacker, you have Sebastian Cheeks, and he's from Florida, Illinois. People are saying that Notre Dame's a leader for him. I think he's going to be like a Prince Collie type situation where the staff has a good rapport with him and they really like him. So they hopefully they'll be in it to the end so I can juice some content out of it. And maybe they get a better result than they did with Prince Collie. Not sure. Then you got Langston Peterson from Tennessee, Stone Blanton from down in Mississippi, who's a guy I've talked about a lot. Demario Tolan, and they offered Cam Moore out of Seminole. Louisville was his first offer, but he's listed as an outside linebacker, but his size to me, he doesn't have the length of an outside linebacker. But Louisville's funny with how they do move their linebackers around, so I'm not sure. But those are the names that I've heard the most. But there could be new names popping up. You know how Louisville is. As far as cornerbacks, there's a guy named Mumar bin Wahad. I think he's really high on their list. There's another 4-star named Marcus Allen. I believe he's from Tennessee. I'm not sure about that one. That you have Jalen Lewis, who they like at free safety. And then there's a kid named Jakari Henderson. He's down there. He plays with Cam Moore at Stanford Seminole. And he has a brother named Damari Henderson, who's his twin. So the twin corners there. So those are the names that I've heard. And Traquan Fagans, he's a 4-star corner. He's 6'2". He's out of Oxford, Alabama. Now he's going on a record and say UGA is his leader right now, but the question is he UGA's leader? You know what I mean? So keep monitoring those names. Again, Mumar bin Wahad, Marcus Allen, Traquan Fagans, Jalen Lewis, Jakari Henderson, Damari Henderson. Those are some corners to keep your eyes on. And then at inside linebacker, outside linebacker, they like versatility. So Sebastian Cheeks, Langston Peterson, Stone Blanton, Demario Tolan, Cam Moore, and Popeye Williams are some guys to watch. Popeye Williams particularly, I know the staff loves him. He's from Indiana, and he has I'm pretty sure he's done a virtual visit with the staff. So keep an eye out for those dudes, all right, at those two positions. And I'll have a hot board coming out later, so I can, have to pull it from the ether. You'll have a reference point. Cardinal Cash asks, how do we solve the issue at nose tackle? Any transfers you have your eye on, or do we try and pull a few in the 2022 class? Well, I mean, do we have an issue at nose tackle? I'm not versed on the Louisville nose tackle roster problems at this point in time. I remember they got a 6'6" kid and said they were going to stick him at nose tackle. I forget his name. He was in the Banks, maybe. Yeah, Caleb Banks from Michigan. He's 6'6", 255. I mean, I guess you would put Des Tell in there, right? Des Tell's supposed to be the nose, or is he a 3 tech? It's not going to come from the transfer portal because they don't have any more initials. They don't have any more initial scholarships. I mean, they don't have any scholarships for this year coming up. Unless something changes with that ruling, then maybe they can go into the transfer portal. But as things stand now, and I said that's how we were going to operate, it's not coming from the transfer portal this year. So they're going to have to find something to throw out on the field this season. All right. So that's that. And I mean, or yeah, you say, do we try and pull a few in the 22 class? I don't know if you want to, few is 3 or more. I don't think they're going to take 3 nose tackles. They're going to get some D tackles, and if one of them can work out at nose, they're going to play nose. Card Fan 59 says, how does Cooper help things on the recruiting trail? Already answered that. What is Louisville's biggest selling point right now? Playing time, staff, culture. I mean, I don't know. Playing time is always based upon, who's on the roster, who we talking about, right? Like, I don't know. Cornerbacks probably going to be, a little rough. I guess Chandler Jones will be going maybe. I don't know. Depends on who's in front of you, I guess. If there's no one in front of you, sure. Always say get on the field early. But what if the kid is, not pressed like that? He just wants to come somewhere where he wants to be an engineer. Staff is always a selling point for any school. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what their biggest selling point is right now. They have a new facility, right? They got a new facility. They look nice. You could sell them on that. But everybody has great facilities. I don't know what the culture is. Staff, I mean, they got a new staff. So, you might like your position coach. I think there's, we'll see what happens as far as this year goes with recruiting, because, there was all that stuff going on with the turnover, and then, rumors of Satterfield wants out, and the South Carolina thing, all that crap. But hopefully that's put to bed, and, there's a message of unity. But right now, I don't know what the biggest selling point would be. I would say playing time. Cardinal Cash asks if there's any chance that Jaire Williams qualifies for the 2022 class. I mean, sure, you've seen them do it with Boykin and the other defensive back a while ago, where they put them in at like a prep school, and they were able to get them back on the field, right? So it's been done before, right? So Jamel Starks and Jadarian Boykin, I believe, were the 2 players, right? So sure, if you could get them to do what they did, if you can get Williams to do what they did, then you could get them back on the field, right? But if not, I mean, you gotta understand, there was no ACT this year, and learning was like virtual for most of the year. It was an easy year to qualify, man. I mean, dude didn't qualify during the cycle that was the easiest to qualify for. So take that into consideration, when you look at all the aspects. I'm not saying the kid can't. I hope he does, but if so, it would have to be through, the prep school route like Starks and Boykin did, or he might have to just go the JUCO route if he even wants to play football anymore. You know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't want to play football anymore. And the next question comes from Cards Fan. No, from Dramser12. He says, aside from Selah, have our D-line targets changed since Coach Coop has come on board? Yeah, they offered the that one kid with the funny name. I'll find him on here. Anto Saka, and Christian Miller was an offer that came down the pike when Moore came on board, and then he pushed back his recruiting date. So I say, yeah, I think so. And his is a 2-part question. He asked, is David Cooper mainly recruiting D-line, or is he recruiting other positions too? He's the recruiting coordinator, so he's talking to everybody. He's doing what Pete Nocta used to do. If you've been following recruiting and you've been following my writing, when I talk to kids, Pete Nocta's name is always peppered throughout there, because the recruiting coordinator is kind of the guy who makes the intros and says, yeah, I'm going to have Coach Ivy call you, blah, blah, blah. And then when Coach Ivy's busy, the recruiting coordinator's reaching out, keeping it warm, keeping the conversation flowing, keeping the contact live so that they can pass it off to the other position coaches and then eventually the head coach and et cetera. He's the one that sets up all the recruiting visits. He's the one that makes sure that they got, the Jimmy Dean sandwiches and juice boxes when they come for the visits and stuff like that. And not the visits, but the camps, things of that nature. So I think he's doing it all, definitely. He also asked, Dramser12 says, everything has been about the D-line. So I'd imagine you will have already answered my last questions by the time you get to them. So I'll ask another. Is Danke actually interested in Louisville? I think so. I think he likes Gunnar Brewer a lot. Brewer's a unique character. So kids like him. He's a funny dude. He really is. But I asked him, I said, Dane, I didn't realize that Louisville was like recruiting you like that. I'm hearing you're the number one guy. I was like, do they have a legit shot? And his response was, I like Louisville and all the coaches a lot, ! And then, kind of other nonsense. He said he doesn't have a top schools yet. He's really going to take his time with his recruitment. And then I was like, I guess you're waiting for the, COVID to blow over so you get the full experience. And he said, exactly, that's what I'm waiting on. So I think that Louisville definitely has a shot with him. And if there's one position that Louisville has the edge over Kentucky, it's that receiver, right? So, I wouldn't write off. I follow Dane Key's recruitment. Stay tuned here. I'll write some stories about him, give me some content. But no, seriously, I think that they do have a shot at him. If he played like guard or something, I'd be like, nah, it's going to Kentucky, right? Played tackle or something like that, or D-line or something, I think, But I think that, he's a receiver and he can be got. Plus, it's about time that Frederick Douglass sent a kid to Louisville, right? To send all their kids to Kentucky. What's up with that, Coach? Cool. Cardinal Cash says, what are your thoughts on our chances with Mac Howard? Man, Mac Howard's a 2023 quarterback from somewhere across the country. I don't know. I haven't even thought about a 2023 quarterback. A Mad Ty wrote that article. There's no commitments in the 2022 class, and we're writing about 2023 quarterbacks right now. Come on, man. What are we doing? Shoot 677 says, what running back talent or wide receiver talent is interested in us inside the top 300? Again, man, with the rankings, man, I don't know. First of all, we don't do a top 300 at Rivals. We do the Rivals 250. But to answer your question, I don't think as far as the Rivals top whatever, I don't see it. I know there's Dane Key is a 4-star. Is he top 300? I don't know. He's good. Dylan Sampson is a 3-star, high 3-star. So no. Who was the other kid that they're recruiting that I said before? And then I forgot his name, of course. I always have his name. But yes, there are some 4-stars that they're recruiting. And, hopefully they land them. But again, the Dylan Sampson kid runs a 6'9" in the indoor 60. 6.90. Rondale Moore ran a 6.89 in the indoor 60. That's fast. That kid is fast. It doesn't matter. Like, look at their productivity. The other kid is the other 4-star is a running back. Omarion Hampton is one. Jalen Glover just got bumped up to a 4-star status. Actually, Omarion Hampton's a 129, so he's in the top 150. Jalen Glover is a kid they like out of Lake Gibson in Lakeland, Florida. He's a 4-star now. And they like a kid named Justin Williams out of Dallas, Georgia. And I heard the interest is mutual in there. He'll be on the board that I'm writing up. He's a 4-star outside of the 250. So, there's a lot of talent they're after in this class. There's a receiver named Antonio Williams from South Carolina. Gunnar Brewer is from out that way, so maybe they got a shot with him. We'll see. But yeah, there's some 4-stars out there that Louisville's looking after. What else we got here? Tron the Legacy says, you stated we'll use a few scholarships for transfer portal talent. Yeah, that was a while back before when they don't have scholarships anymore. So Tron says we have seen 2 used for Luke M and Aussie. Yep. How many more do you think we will use and at what positions? They don't have any for this class. So unless that ruling changes it, I don't think they will. But apparently we have a nose tackle problem, according to my man Cardinal Cash. So I would assume they would use it on a nose tackle. Card Cash asks, any new ideas on who jumps on board for us? No, sorry. Are we still in the mix for top tier running backs? Oh, I forgot. Damari Alston is another 4-star running back out of Georgia, out of Atlanta. They're still in the mix for. So yeah, he's the Rivals 250 guy. Damari Alston or Dylan Sampson come to mind. Yeah, they're both they're still in the mix for both of those players. More so, I think Damari's tough, man. He's got all the offers. You know, he's an Atlanta kid. He got Georgia Tech. He's got freaking Florida, Ohio State. You know what I mean? Like he's got the big dogs. So that would be a great pool. That'd be a great pool. And Louisville's been talking to him for about a year, so they're in it. You know, and Norv McKenzie was his old recruiter. He went down to Vandy, but Derail picked up the slack. He's talking to Damari. But, I temper expectations for Damari Alston. If they get him a huge win, but I think that he's kind of like that top-tier guy in the country, one of the top-tier guys in the country. So is Amari Hampton, as a matter of fact. So if they could pull those dudes, great. Wow, good job. They're coming in hot. But if not, I think Dylan Sampson is one of those guys who goes overlooked because he's not as big. But neither was Jayhawk, and he did just fine here. Saturday is for the boys. Says, with there being limited scholarships available, if they don't get a quarterback this cycle, what position would they use that scholarship on? I'm assuming the trenches. Also, just watching from who they have been offering lately, they have been taking big swings at high-tier prospects. Is there any new names we need to be looking out for? I dropped a lot of new names throughout this chat, so look out for them. Anto Saka is a DN. Justice Finkley is a guy. Bishop Wright, or Juice Manpower, as I call him, he's a guy. Christian Miller is another guy. That's just the D-line dudes. At the cornerback spot, look out for Traquan Fagans and look out for Marcus Allen. Those are the big-time dudes to take his swings at. Sebastian Cheeks is another big-time guy you want to look out for. Demario Alston. I really like the Stone Blanton kid at linebacker too. So look out for all those guys. Okay. And as far as if the quarterback position, they don't get one there, I could see them taking 2 running backs, honestly, because they have so much talent they're going after. And, Louisville kind of has this, hey, if this big time guy wants to jump on board, we'll make room for him. If you're a game breaker, they're gonna make a spot for you. And they might think Connor Harrell is a game breaker at quarterback and they'll take him. So that's where it is. So I would say if they don't take a quarterback, and then they'll move that as a luxury scholarship for best available. Or maybe they take a transfer player next year with that scholarship, right? Card for Life 32. Any thoughts on how our staff turnover will help or hurt recruiting? Can Sims, Gasparado, Thomas, Bicknell recruit? I've already run them down, and I pretty much answered that question already. I think that the new blood always helps. I think new blood helps, especially when you've signed 1 4-star the entire time you've been here. And I know I just said that don't play into the 4-star crap, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, come on. You got to get more than one. All right. And there are no further questions. And I got more stuff to do. And I got to upload this and post it. So thanks for your questions. I'll have this up. You'll be watching this shortly. Until next time, Dave Lackford, CardinalSports.com recruiting chat. Take care.